There are so many sources for abstract painting, but one of the best I've found is simply looking at reflections in windows. And one of the best places to find windows, of course, is in towns and cities. So let's take one of those rather fun shots, this one of the models in the window, and play with it and experiment with mixed media, with oil pastels and with oil paint and with gold leaf. I'm going to attempt a mixed media work now, rather fun. We're going to try using oil pastels we haven't done much with before, certainly haven't made a film about it. And for this I'm going to use this particular photograph here, which is rather an unusual one, which I took of reflections in a shop window, which have not only the reflections going on behind, but also this multi-layer of things happening within. Rather fun, and I'm going to pull out the design work on it. I'm going to start off with some gold leafing. I have metallic foil as well, but the gold leafing is all I'm going to need for this. And first of all, put a base coat of red on and lay the gold leafing over. First putting on the base coat and then the glue, and when the glue's tacky, we apply the gold leafing with a bristle brush, a badger hair brush, and then we can paint over it with oil-based paints. I'm going to experiment with these oil pastels over that as well, and various techniques and methods we can use with those. We've got the oil paints to work over those at the end if we want to as well. I'm working onto a black prime canvas which I've used watercolour pencil onto to make my design first of all. So we'll start off with the gold leafing then, apply the red base coat, let that dry, and then we can put the glue on and put those areas in. I'm going to use the gold leafing in these areas that shine already, where there already is gold reflections, and on the bodies and figures and dresses and some of the decoration. Okay, so firstly I'm going to put some of this red base coat on, which will come through in your gold leafing that crackles slightly. So I'm going to want gold leafing here. As I'm going to be working pastels all over it, I don't have to worry too much about little bits being left. So very simply just painting in some of these shapes to get the base coat for the gold. I want to make more of this decoration and design and enhance that in this painting. Let that dry. The undercoat is now dried. We could put a bit more on, but I'm not worried about it. So it's now time to put some of the special glue on, a bit like PVA glue in that. It looks white at first. We just put it on where we want the gold to go, which will mean it'll brush off anywhere else. Not too worried because we're going to work over a lot of this with oil paints and the oil pastels anyway. So just a nice even layer wherever we want the gold to stick later. The gold won't stick anywhere else but where the glue is. So, and it'll go clear as it dries. That's how we know it's dry. It'll just be a tacky clear film. Washes out with water, which is also another good thing. Right, there we go. It's as quick and simple as that. Let that dry off. Well, this glue's virtually dry enough now, so you should be able to use a stiff brush. Should be a badger hair brush really, but this one will do it. And some gold leafing, and just take my sheet of gold leaf and literally just drop it onto the area that I want to have gold leafing on and brush it on. And wherever the glue is, it should stick. So we can just brush some of the loose gold leafing up there. It all gets used up in the end. And if you miss a bit and the glue has gone too dry, you can always put a bit more glue on and go back. It's one of those quite forgiving things. But this artificial gold, which is all this is, isn't that expensive. And you can buy silver foil and metallic foils as well. You see, it's pretty easy to work with in this way, very loosely, which I work nearly all the time very loosely. Brush all the bits up, we can use them on the other glued areas. And that's my gold leafing, good enough for what I want. Right, let's start with our pastels then. We've got these rather fun sets of oil pastels, all different colours. And we're going to see if we can get some of these effects that we want. I'm also going to have a little lighter here because pastels, these oil pastels, should actually melt a bit. So for instance, we can just place them onto the canvas like this, but I should actually be able to soften it slightly with the heat. And look how that goes on much more thickly, and even actually blend it on the... There's all sorts of fun effects we can do yet. I'm going to work very rapidly, very loosely at first, just to get some of the stuff covered and see what we can do, because this is quite an experimental piece for me as well. Let's see if it goes over. Yes, it will just go over the gold leaf as well, look, so that's rather fun. The gold leaf and then glow through it. I always take the paper off my pastels, but these are brand new sets of oil pastels I've had hanging around for years, and I don't use oil pastels very much, to be honest. I do prefer the soft pastels, but this is going to be rather fun, so let's see how it goes. I may have to take some of the paper off, because I'm going to use it so rapidly doing this much work. And I've got to try and remember where these patterns are and things as well, without losing them too much with the drawing going over them. Let's see what happens when we start to mix them. Got a lighter cream going right through there. So you can go any direction you like with these. I mean, it's an opaque paint anyway, although they are slightly translucent in the way that they go over each other, so it is quite fun. Oh yes, we can have some lovely effects with these, can't we, look? And we can mix them, obviously, we can mix them on the canvas, which is another lovely thing as well. And I say I do want to play with the patterns in this. This is part of what this is about. I really do want to play and exaggerate these patterns that are, even if loosely, so lovely in this design. I'm going to have pastels everywhere, because I'm not going to bother putting them back in properly. I'm going to need a lot of them constantly. So now we can also mix these with turpentine. So if I want to, I can actually put that on there and paint with them. Look, I can actually blend it with the paint. It's lifting slightly, but it's interesting to see what it'll do. Let's just see what happens as we use this turpentine on my brush, going across this, and then go back in with the pastel afterwards. And look, we can actually paint it very fluidly, almost like a watercolour now, working it in. And it's getting it into the pores far more of the canvas. That's an interesting point. So we can have all these various textures of canvas showing through, or not, as we wish, depending on... Now I suspect once that dries down a bit, I'll be able to put an even thicker layer on there. We need a stronger yellow up here. Just look at these lovely effects we can get. That comes down through into the gold. And down here as well. Go one thing over another. We're going to be too careful, because we can work both ways, as I was saying with this. There's various tints of colours going on. So lovely blue. And work cross-hatching over it. Get these reflections as we're starting to build up. One thing over another. Try and keep the colours going all round. She's got a nice... Oh, look how thick this blue is on here. Yes, it's a lovely... Some of these colours are going to be more opaque than others, it would seem. Some lovely colours. We've got lots of mixing to do on this, because there's all these patterns happening. I want that to blend in more, so I'm going to use my terps there and brush that in a bit better, and then go across it again with the, and down her face as well, because that makes that slightly transparent. I can still see some of the drawing just through there. I'm going to want to work onto that face fairly carefully later, so I'll